This podcast is sponsored by Tusk, an open source non-ICO crypto project powered by community. Check them out on the web at tusk.network. That's TUSC.network. The Rob McNealy program is the nexus of cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and entrepreneurship. Now, welcome to the program. Hey folks, Rob McNealy here, and I am super excited today. We are talking to Brock Pierce. He is probably the quintessential OG godfather of crypto, and it is a true honor to be speaking with you today, Brock. How are you?
Grateful. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here too. So a funny thing happened to me about a week ago. I was scrolling through the internet, scrolling through the Twitters, and I see this announcement from you on Twitter. It says, you're running for president. Tell me what's going on here, man.
Well, I'm running for president of the United States of America as an independent candidate. I guess the why is perhaps what you want to know.
I would love to know the why.
Okay.
Yeah, tell me about it. What's going on?
I'm very concerned about our collective future, as a nation but as a species even. I look around and I feel that we're facing a number of existential threats. I see a nation that's divided. I see polarization between the left and the right, and I don't think that we're on the right path. I'm very concerned about our collective future if we continue going down this path. And so I'm looking around for the last, 5 years going, okay, where are these people when are these people going to show up that are going to actually know how to fix this stuff? Kind of looking around, waiting for something to happen, and no one's really showing up. I see a lot of people talking about the changes that are needed, but I don't see people throwing themselves into this type of running. And I think that this is a place from which we can make real change. And if no one else is going to do it, I guess I will. And I think there's an important message that the American people need to hear right now, which is that we are all in this together. This whole us versus them, we are us and we are them. What happens to you is going to happen to me. And we need to find a way, I think, to transcend partisan politics, to find a collective path forward. And so I'm excited to deliver a message that's a little different than probably anything anyone's heard, at least in presidential candidates, which is a message from the heart. And it's, how do we reunite our nation? How do we find that path forward together so that there is a future for our kids and their kids and the generations that follow?
I think that is something that we need right now. But I'm not going to softball you. I got a real question. I mean, we had Kanye West announce that he was going to run for office, and then right around the time, that you announced as well. Is this a serious run, or is this just like a vanity thing? And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I was a member of the Libertarian Party. I ran as a third-party candidate, knowing that I would never win as a third-party candidate. Are you serious about this?
I'm always serious about everything I do. Certainly a commitment like this, I don't think you would do it. I wouldn't do it for any reason other than as a very, very, very serious endeavor. And things are going really well. And I do believe there's a path to winning. But the question is, what is winning? From my perspective, there's 3 different versions of winning. At a minimum, delivering a message that can get us to focus on the things that matter. If that message is amplified enough and heard by enough people, that could bring about real change. And so I think that that's, call it level 1 of winning, is delivering that message, and we'll see how effective I can be in doing that. The next level of winning is if that message actually starts to become a movement. A movement. This isn't about me. This is about all of us that actually believe in transcending partisan politics to bring about real change in this nation at a time that we need it. I believe this is the 11th hour. I believe this is our defining moment. The future is going to happen to us, or it's going to happen with us. And I encourage all of us to get involved if you see what I see. If you feel what I feel, it's time to do something. This is our time to act. And so that movement through this election in 2020, to 2022 to 2024. This is intended to be a movement that will bring about real change. And it's not about me, it's about all of us that are willing to sign up to go do something about it. And that signing up might be as little as voting, but let's actually start to create the world in which we all want to live. And so that movement, I'd say, is the second level of winning. And obviously the third would be to be in the White House in January of next year.
You said you have a path to winning, and I see multiple wins there. Do you have a path to get ballot access? What is your strategy to get on a ballot?
Yeah, so we're on the ballot of Oklahoma as of yesterday. And we have a giant team working across the country. We will be on many, many ballots.
Very cool. I know it's like, especially in some states, and running independent's almost harder than running, third party in a lot of these places, because the signature requirements and let's just be honest, the duopoly political system that we have, they don't want competition from people and candidates that aren't controlled. And so they make that third party run or that independent run very, very challenging, just from the requirements gathering point of view. And so I always want to just say, okay, you hear people want to run for office, but it's like, okay, there's an actual pragmatic issue of getting, on the ballot. And so if you have a strategy for that, I mean, that is amazing. So how are you funding this campaign? Are you going to be self-funding? Are you looking for donors? What's that looking like for you guys?
So I self-funded the entire, call it, beginning process of the campaign, and I'm still the largest contributor to the campaign. But I believe that you want as many people participating and feeling ownership in the process. And so clearly we are looking for anyone that wants to donate to this cause, to this campaign. And in an ideal world, that would be millions of people, donating $1, $5, $10, $20. That's in an ideal world what would happen here. And we hope that many people choose to get involved.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense. You do need a community. It's like building a crypto project, right? You need a community supporting it.
And I'd say this is one of the mistakes that I think Bloomberg made. Bloomberg chose to self-fund everything. The problem is when you fund everything, you're not out there building community, right? You're not out there giving people a feeling of ownership. Just funding it yourself causes you to do things that you wouldn't do otherwise, which is putting yourself before the people as much as possible and all the people, and realizing that, that person that gave you $1 is just as much, they've opted in, they are a contributor as the person that gave you $2,800. And, going out there and building that coalition, building that community of supporters. And I think it's an essential part of the process. And I think that Bloomberg would have done better had he chosen to involve as many people as possible versus self-funding.
Well, I think part of the problem is that he bought that portion essentially, and instead of like trying to build a community, he just thought he could buy his way around that, and he missed the most important function, is getting that buy-in from people. And I think that you're right, that's absolutely a catastrophic mistake he made on his part. So platform, what are your issues? What are your hot button topics that you're going to be focused on during the campaign?
Well, obviously the areas where I'm differentiated is in technology, for one. I think that technology has clearly affected all of our lives and all of our businesses, and it's going to continue to do so. And how do we work with technology to enhance our lives? And so technology is clearly a core component of everything we're doing as an entrepreneur, as a small business builder and owner. Clearly, I'm a big supporter of small business. I would be a small business sort of president. It's probably worth noting other major things right now. Clearly, we need reform around our police, around our justice system, around our prison system. These are hot button topics right now, and I firmly believe that we need real reform in these areas. Well-being, healthcare, all of these sort of things we can talk about. Mental health probably being the most important of which, we know when our body is unhealthy, but it's, because you can see and feel it. But when you're having mental health issues or spiritual health issues, those are not recognized as much. And I think our country has a real mental health issue right now. This has been a very traumatizing year, whether it be, fear of COVID itself or just fear of how am I going to pay my mortgage, my rent, put food on the table? Might be fear around your future, the uncertainty of just everything that's happening. It's been a very traumatic year, and that's something that is not being discussed, I think, nearly enough. Might be worth also just commenting on my process. And so what we're going to be releasing this week is the details of this process. And so how do most politicians come up with their platform, and how do they define, where do their policy ideas come from? It often comes from, talking to experts or lobbyists behind closed doors. But I'm going to do this a little differently, which is, instead of me meeting with people behind closed doors, I'm going to meet with these people, with open doors. I'm going to do this in an open forum, live, in a town hall, so that if you want to see who I'm talking to, where I'm getting my information from, and actually observe that process, that conversation, I invite you to tune in and actually watch. And at the end, even to participate in the Q&A, and so that we can learn together. I don't need to do this privately. I'll show you who I get my information from. You'll watch me get educated in real time, and you can learn right there alongside me. And at the end of that process, around each, call it policy issue, we're going to be taking that portion of the platform and publishing that into a collaborative platform so that you can comment, edit, and we can work on these issues together. Too often I think politicians feel the need to have an answer to every question, versus just saying, I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but let's get to that answer. And here's my process for getting there. And I don't know where the best information is going to come from. I know in the world of open source software, by putting projects into GitHub, everyone can become a contributor, because I truly believe that every one of our voices matter. Everyone's voice should be heard, at least have the potential for it to be heard, and every voice counts. And so I truly want to give us that feeling of participation. And so this is an invitation to get involved, be part of the process.
Are you going to be doing that for your campaign as well, where you're actually taking input real time through like a repository kind of website?
That's the goal. That should all be live starting next week.
I'm excited to see it, actually. Okay, so we're screwed right now. I mean, I think on so many metrics in the United States, we have a lot of problems that we're facing right now. And in my not so humble opinion, I think 2021 is actually going to be worse than 2020, because I think that's when a lot of the damage that I believe has been done to the economy is probably going to start manifesting. So January 1st, 2021, there's a Barack Pierce presidency. You're inheriting a giant mess. What's the first thing you're going to do?
In terms of the economy, well, we need to basically get it jump started again. People are going to have to get back to work at some point. Some of the data that I received yesterday, and I haven't fact checked this yet. We fact check this. The World Food Program, or WFP, as well as I think it was OSIF, released information saying that the economic damage related to this is going to cause 130 million deaths in the developing world due to starvation. And so I think what you're raising is, we understand the impact of the virus itself, and we understand, the number of people that are getting sick and how many people are dying and how this is being affected, but we don't really have a lot of visibility into the long-term impact that this is going to have on the economy. Clearly, unemployment rates, skyrocketing, small businesses failing, skyrocketing. And even when things open back up again, you can't just put the band back together again. There's not like an on-off switch. It doesn't work this way. And so, it's going to be a very long road. And hopefully we don't end up in a situation similar to the Great Depression. And so where do I think the path forward? The United States has been the capital of innovation for a long time. And I think that we want to make sure that we continue to be that through this fourth industrial revolution. I love the fact that we're bringing the big fabricators like TSMC and Samsung into the United States to bring semiconductor development here. Clearly, cities like Detroit that have all of this infrastructure for mass manufacturing, these things can be repurposed to be building, 21st century products. And so how do we bring as much innovation back into the economy? How do we invest in, call it, our collective future? One of the things that we can do is invest heavily in upgrading, call it, our infrastructure as a country. and these are the sorts of things that can bring and create high-paying, high-skilled jobs. I think that continuing to support innovation is probably the best path forward.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny because not funny, laugh, but you've been reading my Twitter because I've been talking about the potential starvation issue next year for 3 months now. And that's because, and I view that is because that, 4 of the world's major food exporting countries now are having, it looks like agricultural yields that are going to be much lower this fall. And if the harvest numbers in the fall do fall below a certain level, those 4 countries are not going to be exporting food to the third world. And that is what's going to cause that starvation. And that is a concern. I've been telling people plant a garden since March, and because I think food is going to skyrocket in price. And I think it's going to create a lot of turmoil if that happens, but we won't know what that really looks like until the fall harvest numbers. But I'm tracking with you there, Brock. I think I am concerned about that. Foreign policy.
Just one last point on that. When we look at like what happened in Syria and other places, when we see these revolutions occur, it normally comes from rising prices in food. When people become hungry, that's when, things get really gnarly.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a very real issue. And one that I'd like to echo that statement and continue to echo it, which is plant a garden. Plant a garden. This is something that it's good for your health. It's good for your spirit, and it might be really good for your belly if things get and your pocketbook.
I'll send you some zucchinis because my wife is, we're overwhelmed with zucchini right now. But yeah, I mean, we planted our biggest garden ever this year for the same reason. And as much as we dollar cost average our sats, we're doing that now with groceries as well. Buy food. I'm telling people, buy food. I hope I'm wrong on this because, it's like when you got countries like India, which is the #2 rice exporter. India feeds the Middle East their rice and Africa their rice. Right now, Brazil is the #1 protein exporter in the world. They're having massive problems with COVID. And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in the U.S. And again, I'm looking at those fall numbers. I mean, the commodities traders out there probably are the most clued in on what's happening in that field. But I think people are going to be really paying attention to commodities brokers in about 4 months. And it'll be interesting what those futures look like. I guess I know we don't have a lot of time left, but foreign policy right now, we're in multiple wars still. That seem like they're never ending. We're having really bad trade relations with places like China. There's obviously a lot of contention with Russia. How will Brock Pierce deal with foreign policy in general, but these specific kind of problems we're seeing right now?
So I've spent most of my life working all over the world. I've lived in Europe for a meaningful amount of my life. I've lived in Asia for a substantial amount of my life, and I've traveled the world, continually for my entire adult life. And so, yeah, we share one planet. And how do we deal with our neighboring countries and countries around the world? And how do we put in place good trade policies that make dollars and cents with an objective or an intention of win-win scenarios? Putting in place, creating arrangements where both parties benefit. It's not, you don't have to, I don't have to win, you don't have to lose for me to win. And how, knowing that, peace and prosperity is the, call it, I think, long-term objective for all of us. How do we create a more peaceful world? How do we deal with, some of the more challenging government situations, China probably being the most complicated of them. And I guess where would you like to double click on any of this?
Absolutely. Brock, where can people find out more if they want to get involved with supporting your campaign or donating to your campaign?
Go to the website, which is brock.vote, brock.vote. And you can sign up to just to stay tuned, stay aware of what it is that we're doing. Clearly, you can volunteer and get involved to the extent that you'd like to support this process. And donate as well to the extent that you'd like to contribute. All of it matters. We seek all of your support.
Brock, thank you so much for coming on today. I look forward to watching your campaign unfold over the next few months.
Yeah, Rob, happy to come back again. It's good to see you. Thank you for having me.
You have a great day.
You too.
Thank you for listening to the Rob McNealy program. Make sure you check us out on the web at robmcnealy.com and subscribe to our podcast at YouTube, iTunes, and on the Google Play Store.